Well, this is something I want to say pretty carefully in the context of how we interact with the public.
It's still a government page. I'll go myself. Go ahead, say it louder for the camera. Say it louder for the camera, Joshy.
Go yourself for the camera.
Thank you.
Because public input is a very valuable part of this board's job.
I want to say, first off, that it's crazy that board members are cheerleading this project at the first meeting before public comment has even been read, even been heard.
Excuse me, Justin, I'm going to interrupt. I think it's inappropriate for you to be saying that the ZBA illegally granted a variance.
Let me finish. Let me finish, and I will leave that aside. I will leave that. I will leave that. Let me finish.
Sir, I'm going to have you muted. Sir, I'm going to have you muted.
But I think you're full of it. So thank you.
Well, until your last comment, which is also not horribly inappropriate, Stacia, I was going to simply say, this is the kind of strong discourse we need to have.
No, but you
hold on. Hold on.
You're going to spank me too?
Excuse me?
You going to spank me too? Slap me on the hand?
I didn't spank anyone. Mute her, please.
Seriously.
Once again, I am covering the civil rights violations committed by the City of Salem. This time it is the Department of the Planning Board. On March 21st, 2024, the chairman of the Planning Board had muted two different people from the public from speaking because they didn't like the tone of how they were speaking and or what they were saying. The city attorney was contacted by email the next day after this happened by one of the two people that was muted and had their civil rights violated. As you see in this post explaining the situation, they had contacted the city attorney and they were not confident that the city attorney would hold the planning board members accountable for their civil rights violations. They had reached out to the ACLU about these civil rights violations, and the ACLU had sent a letter to the planning board members and the city as a whole. In that letter from the ACLU, they directed the letter towards the chair of the planning board that ordered them to be muted. It stated that the chair must cease and desist all of this type of behaviors and must apologize to the two people that they violated their First Amendment rights to free speech at a public meeting. I do want to highlight one of the board members, Josh Terrell, who used to be a city councilor and is still in a position of being a board member for the planning board. Here's a couple of short clips from that introduction of that video. Here we have a former city councilor of Salem, Massachusetts, and now still presently holding a position with the planning board. His name is Josh Terrell, and we had an interaction a couple nights ago, and first thing he did was go to his personal Facebook page and brag about how he did not knock me out only to drop a few F-bombs. All of these people are aligned with the mayor of Salem, Kim Driscoll, who is now going to be the lieutenant governor as well. They all show a disdain for the public, who they work for. Now back to Josh Terrell. This whole thing started between me and Josh because they have taken down some "Say No to Panhandling" signs that I fought to get removed, and when I had commented on his post, he had deleted me from his city council page. Now that I've made some connections with all these politicians and the affiliates, I will bring you the video of my interaction with former councilman and still on the planning board of Salem, Massachusetts, Josh Terrell. I think that's Josh. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's Josh. The guy that claims he respects the First Amendment and blocks people on his council page.
Remember, I'm not one anymore.
Yeah, but you're still running a council page as if it is an actual government page.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. It's got a blue check. It's got Josh for counselor, all that good stuff.
Yes,
It's still a government page. I'll go myself. Go ahead, say it louder for the camera. Say it louder for the camera, Joshy.
Go yourself for the camera.
Thank you. That's what I expect from the supporters of Kim and Dominic. Just like Sarah Cahill flipping me off.
Yes, I did too.
You guys are very classy. Very classy group. That thinks they're a class above the rest.
You have a job to pay for the live stream?
I do. This is it, buddy. You give me that great content. That gives me that money. Yeah, wonderful. Oh, we didn't want to get sued, so we should have took down them. Why are you posting about all these signs and stuff if you're not a counselor on your counselor page? You're still informing people about what's going on within the government as if you're a counselor. Are you acting as a counselor? You should remove that counselor label from your page if you're not going to act like a counselor. We'll see if the federal court agrees with you or me.
Now that you are up to date with who this guy Josh is and his antics, this is the comment that he had posted on one of the posts about the violation of the First Amendment and the ACLU letter that was sent to the board members. This guy acts like he's something special, and he still has his counselor page even though he hasn't been a counselor since 2022. I believe this page should be taken down, and I believe that if he does keep it up, he cannot be blocking people from commenting as he has myself. He has not only restricted and blocked me from commenting or even seeing his page, but he has also called you all my troll army and has blocked and restricted you all from commenting and or finding his page. I will leave a link to this profile in the pinned comment in the description, and you all should go over, comment, and make sure you screen record or screenshot any of your comments before and after his restricting of your First Amendment. I will leave all the contact information to the mayor's office, his chief of staff, the city solicitor, and the board members themselves. Remember, you all have the right to redress your grievances with our government officials, and if you do not agree with these civil rights violations and you believe these board members should be removed from the board and be replaced, or if they should remove themselves, please contact the local government officials with the contact information I provide down below. Now here's the video of the actual board meeting when they muted the two people from the public, and also their apology afterwards. I appreciate all of you guys for supporting, and look out for another video of more civil rights violations by the Salem Police Department, where they stole a protest sign from a disabled gentleman with a prosthetic leg, and that uses a disability scooter to get around. In this incident, the city attorney approved of them writing him a city ordinance violation and said he was violating the city ordinance by leaning these signs against a public building. They directly violated his First Amendment, not because he was leaning the signs against the building, but it was the message on the signs that was speaking up against all the government officials, including the mayor and the chief of police. As always, guys, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, drop a comment, hit the like button, and share these videos. Much love, respect, and appreciation.
Robin?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, this is Justin Whittier. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Justin, can we have your address, please?
Thank you, Justin Whittier. All right, thank you. I want to say first off that it's crazy that board members are cheerleading this project at the first meeting before public comment has even been read, even been heard, and talking about design elements before the more fundamental issues are resolved is completely upside down. We're talking about clapboards and trees and EV spaces before we've even got to questions of whether this belongs in a flood hazard zone. This board should be separating these special permits to allow public comments on each. It's far too much for anyone to address everything in a single comment. But the fundamental point is that this development does not belong here. It is incompatible with the adjacent neighborhood. It is not creating affordable housing. It violates the zoning, and everyone knows how deeply this area floods. In my limited time, I'm going to refer directly to the applicant's submitted flood hazard overlay district narrative. As you know, if any proposal fails to meet even one of four conditions for a flood hazard permit, it is ineligible. This proposal fails both conditions 1 and 2. With respect to 1, the proposed use must comply in all respects to the uses and provisions of the underlying district. The applicant narrative addresses only the use and ignores the provisions. I hope you notice that. In fact, this proposal fails to meet multiple provisions. For example, the NRCC vision statement and zoning require development projects that preserve the unique historic character and scale of the adjacent neighborhoods. The standard here is the scale for the adjacent neighborhood. Clearly, this project is not in scale. Likewise, it fails to comply with provisions for parking. It fails to meet the requirement to reduce and manage existing traffic. It fails to improve and enhance traffic patterns. In fact, it makes them worse. Imagine vehicles turning onto North Street, especially turning left across southbound traffic. It fails to provide retail uses that support the adjacent neighborhood. We have some vague statement about an office space. That's it. On condition 1, on the use, the applicant says they meet the use requirement. They don't. Multifamily is allowed, but only subject to 3 conditions, A, B, and C. This project does not meet condition C, the separate entrances for each unit. The ZBA illegally granted a variance here, and I refer you to 9.3.2.3.
All right, I'm going to interrupt. Excuse me, Justin, I'm going to interrupt. I think it's inappropriate for you to be saying that the ZBA illegally granted a variance. Why don't you leave your comments, sir, please, to your thoughts about the project, which I think you've largely covered, and we're pretty much.
Let me finish. Let me finish, and I will leave that aside. I will leave that. I will leave that. Let me finish.
Sir, I'm going to have you muted. Sir, I'm going to have you muted. May I?
No, I will leave that aside. Let me finish.
Mute him, please.
Sorry, Bill, this is not working for me.
No, what's not working, Kurt?
Having somebody dictate to the chair of this board what shall and shall not occur.
He's been muted, so he's not going to dictate anything further this evening. Okay? Does anybody feel the need to unmute this gentleman at this point? Or do we understand his position?
Yeah, I think perhaps he should be encouraged to put his thoughts in writing, that would help as well.
Okay, all right. So I'm sure you can hear us, Mr. Whittier. We're going to encourage you to put your thoughts in writing. I thought your presentation was unnecessarily aggressive and has no place here. We want facts. Opinions are great too. But talking about illegal activity of boards and commissions just has no place here, especially when it's inaccurate. Let's move on to the next person, please. Counselor, good evening.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff Cohen, Ward 5 Counselor. My testimony is actually championing this project. And I do want to say that in general, I do believe that the public is best served when they're able to do public comment after boards weigh in, so that they have the benefit of hearing what interaction happens.
Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate it. And I just want to make a very brief comment. As the counselor expressed, he does, and I know we all do, appreciate comment from the public, opinions, thoughts, strong, mild, it's all good. It all makes these projects better projects and makes our city an even more wonderful place for us all to live. But when comments descend as they did with the prior speaker, not Councillor Cohen, but the speaker before him, it's the chair's responsibility to maintain civil discourse. And when talked over, I felt I had no option but to have that gentleman end his diatribe. So again, public comment's great. Strong public comment sometimes is even better. Thank you, Councillor Cohen. Thank you all for indulging me on that. Would you state your name and address, please, Stacia?
I'm shaking from the interaction you just had with Justin Whittier. So I hope that it doesn't affect other people that way. I hope it doesn't discourage public engagement. The point that I'd like to make is that the state's new environmental chief has prioritized a managed retreat from the coast and our municipal vulnerability plan has also suggested that we move infrastructure away from the coast, and gave an example of our MBTA station, where we're planning to build the Crescent lot. There was a lot of discussion about the safety of plant material, and I found that, I mean, it's hard for me not to also be insulting, but you know, we're talking about public safety. So I feel like the conversation is a little bit too out of balance towards economic development and really not focused on public safety. So I would like to hear you talk less about EV and sustainability, because I do feel like that's greenwashing. And somehow, if you talk about that stuff, it implies that this is a safe place to build, but I think you're full of it. So thank you.
Well, until your last comment, which is also not horribly inappropriate, Stacia, you know, I was going to simply say, this is the kind of strong discourse we need to have.
No, but you
hold on. Are you
You're
gonna
gonna spank me too?
Excuse me?
You gonna spank me too? Slap me on the hand?
I didn't spank anyone. Mute her, please.
Seriously.
You seriously, bye-bye. Anybody else?
Yes.
Because I'm about to suspend the meeting for the evening, but let's see how it goes. All right. So if you could call the roll, please, Robin, and let's begin the meeting tonight.
Sure. Did you want to start with the statement of the chair?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Don't we usually do that after the roll? Okay, let's start with the statement of the chair. We'll do the roll, and then I have a little amplified statement of the chair for the evening. And there is a slight modification to the statement of the chair. I have removed, consistent with my understanding of the SJC case, I have removed the line that anyone that speaks about an issue unrelated to the agenda items will be immediately muted, because my understanding, and in speaking with city solicitor, is that that is no longer the way we should go. So here we are. Let me just say, throughout my tenure as chair, I have welcomed both hearty opposition to and support of projects here in Salem, and I firmly believe, as I know we all do, that hearing differing viewpoints always improves our process. Next, I'd like to address an issue that arose during the meeting on March 21st. In that meeting, I had planning department staff mute the microphones of two callers who, in my opinion, were disrupting the meeting. As chair, it is my responsibility to help maintain order so that the planning board can do its work. What many of you may not know is that since that meeting, my decision has been the object of criticism by one or both of the callers who were muted. That criticism initially involved complaints to the city solicitor and a demand that she take certain steps to remind boards and committees of their new obligations under the SJC's recent case of Barron v. Calenda, which sets new rules regarding public comment. As you know, the city responded and circulated these materials to boards and committees recently. On my own, I then invited the two members of the public who felt aggrieved to attend the next meeting on the project that they were attempting to address, and I told them I would recognize them and give them the opportunity to address us. Let me say that throughout this process, I have enjoyed the full support of not only this board, but the city as well. I can't begin to express how much I appreciate this support.
You hear that, everyone? He had the full support of the city and the board after restricting people's First Amendment right to speak at a public meeting.
Let me say that throughout this process, I have enjoyed the full support of not only this board, but the city as well. I can't begin to express how much I appreciate this support. Which brings us to yesterday, when I learned that the ACLU had now become involved and had sent me a cease and desist letter as chair, insisting that I do certain things. And I quote, it's a 2-page letter. We ask you to share this letter. It's written by 2 attorneys at the ACLU. We ask you to share this letter with the entire board, cease immediately interrupting, cutting off, or silencing members of the public for content-based reasons, and apologize to the person who was cut off on March 21, 2024. I hereby apologize to both of those people who were muted on that meeting. That is Stacia Kraft and Justin Whittier. You have my apologies. I will circulate or make sure that letter has circulated. I have nothing further to say on the matter. Now let's move on to tonight's regular agenda. In the regular meeting agenda, item
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry, could I, if I could be indulged for a moment, I thought about this matter a little bit as well, and I have something I would like to add to the conversation that I hope will be helpful for people who pay attention to this stuff.
Sure, and I certainly have recognized you and would love to hear what you have to say. I had not intended what I just read to be a conversation, but I'm happy to hear from you. Go ahead.
No, this is something I want to say pretty carefully in the context of how we interact with the public.
It's still a government page. I'll go myself. Go ahead, say it louder for the camera. Say it louder for the camera, Joshy.
Go yourself in the camera.
Thank you.
Because public input is a very valuable part of this board's job and of the work that all the boards do in this and other communities. We are told that under current guidelines, we aren't allowed to cut people off for the content or tone of their statements, and that's fine. But, and I agree with that. I want to add something important to that context, though, and I think that everyone who chooses to participate in the public process should consider it deeply. Members of the public have the fundamental right to speak up about a project. It's part of the defined permitting process, and it is valuable. But the board does not have to do what the members who speak want them to do. Our responsibility is to look at the project and determine if it meets the necessary criteria for issuing a permit. And if we dislike it, whether there is a legal basis to deny it. It's not necessarily to agree or disagree with what a member of the public feels we should do. And at the same time, members of the public who wish to participate should consider their audience carefully. If you're speaking about a project to the board to try and encourage them to agree with your viewpoint, please give the board facts and opinions to go by in that determination. Many people do that now, and this board has done a very good job in listening and taking them into account. But if you'd rather give an angry screed about your perceived slights, well, that might impress your Facebook followers or whip up followers to put the signs in their yards. But that, simply put, does not make your case to this or any other board. So if you want to be a part of the process, I respect and strongly encourage that, and I look forward to the discussions on every project. If you want social media clout, well, good luck with that. I don't speak for this or any other board, only for myself. But I can tell you that I'm not going to be taking you very seriously. I will take every project that comes before us seriously. I will take the expert opinions of the reviewers seriously, and I will take the comments and analysis from the public seriously. So I recommend considering that. Thank you.
Josh, thank you for adding those words. I should extend the offer to any of the other members of the board if you wish, but please do not feel compelled to comment. Otherwise, I'm ready to move on with the regular agenda. And hearing no interest in adding to those words, let's go to the regular agenda. Item A.
Thank you all for watching, and remember, if you would like to redress your grievances with the Salem government, all contact information will be in the pinned comment. I appreciate all your support. Make sure you look out for this video that will be released a couple days after you see this video here. Local governments like Salem are not going to learn their lesson until we the people speak up and really let them know that we are not okay with them violating our rights on multiple different levels. Thank you all once again. Much love, respect, and appreciation.
They're seizing my personal property without a warrant. 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 They're seizing my personal property without a warrant.